Hello, Blue Jays fans, and welcome to Sunny Side of the Dome. I'm your host, Karen Soutar, and I'll be talking Blue Jays baseball with you for the next half an hour or so. Sunny Side of the Dome is brought to you by Jays from the Couch. We normally stream live on Thursdays at 6 p.m. Got a bit of a scheduling conflict last few weeks and this week as well, so we were able to fit it in on Wednesday. I'm happy to have the opportunity to come on back and talk some Blue Jays baseball, but you can find us streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube at Jays from the Couch's pages there. And if you are following along live and you think of a question or comment, please do send it on in. I love the interaction with the audience. I think it really improves the show. And if you're not catching the live version, but you still want to check us out, that's great. When you're ready for us, we're ready for you. So you can catch the archive version on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And you can also download as a radio podcast and listen that way. And I really hope you like the content here at Sunny Side of the Dome. And if you do, there's lots more interesting content. There's James from the Couch's main podcast, which is Mondays, 7 p.m. for the time being. And that's hosted by Sean Doyle, founder, senior editor of Jays from the Couch, who's always got lots of interesting stuff going on. And the other show is the On Feck Circle, hosted by Steve Feck, who's trying some new things lately. So definitely check that out. I hope you've been watching Steve. And if you haven't, tune in to see some different things that he has in store for everybody. So, hello, Blue Jays fans. Happy Wednesday evening. Happy slowest day of the year as far as North American professional sports goes. There's no baseball, basketball, hockey, or football. So avid diehard sports fans don't have a heck of a lot to do. So maybe you're tuning in to me. If you are, thank you. I appreciate that. So hope everybody enjoyed the All-Star game for those who tuned in. The home run derby, that was lots of fun. Congratulations to Vlad Jr. on his first derby championship there. He really pulled it off. He really looked good doing that. Lots of fun to see, I think. So lots going on. Haven't been here in a few weeks. It wasn't really planned. As I said, just a couple of things came up scheduling conflict wise and kept kind of getting pushed back, but I'm back. So leading off as always, transactions, and it's been a few weeks, but for that period of time, I actually, when I sat down to look at the transactions page, I thought there would be a lot more, and relatively speaking, there have been some, maybe not all that many, and again, that's a good thing. If you don't need all that many transactions, it means that for the most part, what you've got in the major leagues is working, and people are staying healthy, knock on wood, and all of that. So what transactions have there been? So back late in June, you recall Alejandro Kirk was on the injured list. They called up Tyler Heineman to take his place, and Heineman filled in admirably. Kirk was ready to come off the injured list, or so they deemed him to be ready. And so he was activated, and Heineman was once again optioned. It's really interesting there. I mean, Heineman, he's a third string catcher. I certainly, if the Blue Jays were to get into the playoffs and hopefully try to get deep into the playoffs, I wouldn't want Tyler Heineman to have to be someone they could count on in that situation. I mean, he's bounced around for a reason. But in small sample size, so he's gotten into 9 games with the Blue Jays this season, he's actually done quite well. He has an OPS of 825. Defense, I don't remember any issues thinking, oh God, Heineman's behind the plates, when here come the pass balls type of thing. He's been fine on both sides of the ball. Alejandro Kirk, I don't really know what's going on. I mean, here's this guy that he made his major league debut in 2020 at the ripe old age of 21, and he'd never played above A ball. But what he had and what the Blue Jays desperately needed was the ability to hit from behind the plate. And he came up and he didn't disappoint. And up until this season, for the most part, his career has been a pretty interesting one and a really good one. He made the All-Star team. He was the starting catcher for the American League in the All-Star game last season. This season has been a bit of a different story. He has an OPS of 620. That's not the Alejandro Kirk that Blue Jay fans have come to know and many of us love. And again, he's not all that old. What is he now, 24? I refuse to believe that the Alejandro Kirk who could hit well is gone, and there's no way to bring him back. He's been going through a slump this season. I don't really know what's going on. I mean, speculation. He and his significant other, they had their first child. Everybody heard about that back in March because of spring training and his delayed start getting to spring training and all of that. So, I mean, he's a new dad. The baby is what? Excuse me, April, May, June, like 4 months old. Is it possible that he's finding challenges trying to work around the baby's schedule? Does he lose sleep because of it? I don't know what's going on, but something's going on, and I'm thinking it's got to be fixable. So here's an idea, maybe a bit of a radical idea. I don't know if the Blue Jays would consider this or not, but would it be worth, because as I say, Heineman was optioned late June, so he is now eligible to be called back up without having to be replacing someone going on the IL. Might it be worth flip-flopping Heineman and Kirk for a couple of weeks? Get Kirk some time in AAA, away from the better pitching in Major League Baseball, try to help him find what it is that has made him successful in the past. I don't know. Thoughts, anybody? Because like I say, I'm a fan of Kirk. I still like his talent a lot, and I think that really good hitter is still in there. They just have to find a way to unlock it. Excuse me a moment. All right, so yes, that's just one transaction. So a lot of the other things that have gone on have been with the pitching staff. So Bowden Francis, he was recalled, spent a little bit more time with the Jays, and has been optioned back down. So he's gotten into over a couple of different stints. He's gotten into 6 games for the Blue Jays, and honestly, he's done fairly well overall. He has a 2.63 ERA. I mean, he's gone out there whenever called upon, and for the most part, he's been pretty reliable. So it's nice to have him around. Kind of interesting that they chose to send him back to AAA. I'll actually circle back to that in a bit. Thomas Hatch was recalled and then sent back down. Thomas Hatch, it's funny. I mean, he's gotten into 5 games with the Jays, has only given up runs on the one occasion. Unfortunately, it was his most recent game. The overall ERA of 2.25 is pretty good, but I don't know what it is. There's something about Thomas Hatch that he makes me nervous. I really don't want to see him with the Jays in any kind of a leverage situation. So he, in the last game, you may recall, so the 11 inning game against against the Chicago White Sox, where really neither team was doing anything. Through 10 innings, there were 0 runs and 3 total hits. And you're just you're just shaking your head, maybe tearing your hair out a little bit. And then in the top of the 11th, the Blue Jays finally exploded for 6 runs. So a 6-0 lead. You're thinking maybe it's safe to bring in Hatch, and they brought him in, and he gave up a couple of runs. And when they finally had to pull him in favor of Jimmy Garcia, there were a couple more runners on base, and I was practically screaming at my TV, Schneider, get Hatch out of there, get him out now. So he's back at AAA. One thing, again, very small sample size, the walks per 9 innings for far too high. Not 9 walks per 9 innings pitched. So anyway, it'll be interesting to see what the future is for Hatch. Certainly in the Blue Jays organization, will there be a need to call him back up? There could be additions coming, both internally and possibly externally, and they could need some 40-man roster spots, and Thomas Hatch is someone that could be on the bubble in that way. So something to watch for. Somebody else who also could be on the bubble is Trent Thornton. He's just been up and down. So he was with the Jays. They optioned him back down, actually to bring up Hatch. I guess they needed a fresh arm when they did it. Trent Thornton is someone else. I mean, his ERA is good at 169, small sample size, 4 games. There's just something about Thornton. Maybe it's his inconsistent performance over his career that he doesn't inspire a lot of confidence in me. When he's pitching, I get a little nervous, and again, I don't really want to see him in any kind of a leverage situation. Some good news on the injury front with Hyun-Jin Ryu. So as we know, he's recovering from Tommy John surgery. He has progressed enough that the Blue Jays were able to send him on a rehab assignment, and he's actually had 2 starts already. So the first one in rookie ball at the Florida Complex League, where he pitched 3 innings, only gave up the 1 run, and then they moved him up to not double A, excuse me, to A ball Dunedin. That's what I'm trying to say there. And he went a little bit longer, 4 innings pitched this time, so stretched him out a little bit more, tiny bit more advanced competition, no runs this time. And one of the really encouraging things is 0 walks across the board. So that's great to see. Hyun-Jin Ryu, when he has had success in his professional career, he relies on command, and knock on wood, so far it seems like the command is there, that it's come back. So as I was saying earlier about Hatch or possibly Thornton, so Hyun-Jin Ryu is on the 60-day IL, assuming that maybe another couple of starts in the minors, and he might actually be good to go as far as bringing him back. They'll need to get him back onto the 40-man roster. So something's going to have to happen, whether somebody gets transferred to the 60-day IL or maybe someone will get traded, DFA'd. Who knows? All kinds of interesting possibilities, but it would be great if Hyun-Jin Ryu could come back and be anything close to the pitcher that was one of the better pitchers in Major League Baseball in the past. So interesting stuff there. Jay Jackson, he was called back up, and then he actually went on paternity leave. And very interesting, he announced on Twitter he and his fiance are celebrating the birth of their son, who was between 14 and 15 weeks premature. My goodness. I don't even know what to say other than I really, really hope that mother and son are doing well. Hope he comes through, and what else can you say? All the best to all of them, and hope everything goes well. Tough way to start life. Yes. So anyway, Jay Jackson. Yes. Alec Manoa. Some other good news, and for me at least, possibly a little bit unexpected, in that Alec Manoa was called back up to the major leagues. Now he only had two starts in the minors after he was optioned, and the first one was pretty disastrous. Gave up 11 hits in the Florida Complex League, and then after that they moved him up to Double A, where he actually had a pretty good start. And then they decided that he was ready to come back to Major League Baseball. And I think that raised more than a few sets of eyebrows there. He pitched this past Friday. Yes, it was against the Detroit Tigers, whose offensive stats are 28th out of 30 MLB teams. So maybe a good time for him to come back and regain a little bit of that confidence and all that. Um, he had a very good game on Friday. I was so pleased. I'm sure Blue Jays fans everywhere were. 6 innings pitched, only one run, again, 0 walks, and eight punchies. He likes to call strikeouts punchies. So great to see Manoa back. It's only one start. You don't want to get too ahead of yourself there, because one start doesn't make a whole season. But excuse me, it's certainly a very good sign, and really hopeful that he can get back on track and be the solid starting pitcher that the Toronto Blue Jays need him to be. So yeah, great news there. Excuse me a moment. Okay, yes. So more family news. So George Springer missed the last 2 games of the Detroit Tigers series, because he also was on the paternity list. So all the best to George and his wife, and hope everything is going or has gone well there. And in his place, they called up Nathan Lucas from AAA. So he was back, and if you remember on Sunday, he actually excuse me, the game went to extra innings, and a lot of moves were made, and the bench was pretty much used. And Nathan Lucas did get into the game, even though he didn't start the game. And he ended up in the 10th inning getting the winning hit. The Blue Jays won that game 4-3. They were down 3-1, down to their last out in the top of the ninth there, when Danny Jansen hit a game time 2-run home run. And then Nathan Lucas came up. And honestly, it was the last thing I was expecting, that the game winning hit would come from him. But great for him. And thank you very much for that. Zach Pop, I don't know how many people noticed. He has been on a rehab assignment. He was activated, but then optioned down to AAA. So that tells me the Blue Jays think that he's got some things to work on before he can come back and be a good major league pitcher again. He on the rehab assignment, actually 2 different times. He was on rehab assignments in A-ball and AAA, and his ERA hasn't been good. It's 7.20 in 10 games. Also, the walks are really high, 5.4 walks per 9 innings pitched. So lots for him to work on. I still really like and believe in his talent. Hopefully he can come back again and be the Zach Pop that we've seen in the past, after he was acquired via trade last year, as well as earlier in this season, before he started having some injuries and so forth. So excuse me a moment. Okay, so last couple of transactions before I get into the heart of the order. So Springer and Jackson have both been activated from the paternity list. Springer obviously was going to come back. I was a little surprised that Jay Jackson was brought back. I'm not unhappy about it. I like him. I like what he brings to the table, and I've been kind of wanting the Jays to give him a little bit of a longer look. So instead of optioning him, he's still on the active roster. and they've optioned Bowden Francis. And the other thing, I thought when Springer came back, Nathan Lucas would go right back down to AAA, but they've decided for the time being at least to keep him and option Ernie Clement. So both moves were a little bit of a surprise to me. I don't know what anybody else thinks. Clement, again, in small sample size, 12 games, has done pretty much anything the Jays could have hoped for from him. He's versatile position wise. He has an 873 OPS. And I'm surprised to see him going back down. Nathan Lucas, he's gotten into 24 games. He hasn't had tons of opportunity at the plate. The opportunity that he has had prior to Sunday's game, well, he's had a 642 OPS overall. So I know it can be hard when you're not out there getting regular playing time to have your timing in a good place and all of that. But anyway, yeah, these moves are kind of surprising to me. So I'm not quite sure what the Jays are thinking there, if they just want to get a little bit longer look at someone like Jay Jackson, Nathan Lucas. I don't know. Do they think they've seen something in him based on that one game? Is he maybe being showcased as trade bait? Who knows? Maybe Bowden Francis, maybe they want to stretch him out a little bit in Buffalo. Maybe he could be trade bait. so many possibilities with August 1st coming up in a few weeks. And I'm sure there will be moves. And lots of things to keep an eye on. So excuse me a moment. Well, not a lot of time left for the heart of the order. I've been rambling on about this and that there. But for the heart of the order, I want to say that I really think the best is yet to come for the 2023 Toronto Blue Jays. When you talk to them, when you listen to interviews, even over the All-Star break, the players that went to the game and so forth, that they all more or less say the same thing. They think that they as a team are in a pretty good position, and they are. They're in a playoff spot. In fact, they're the second wild card as of right now, with the same win-loss record, 50-41, as the Houston Astros. But the Blue Jays own the tiebreaker against the Astros because they won the season series against them 4-3. So if the playoffs started today, the Jays would be the second wild card, Astros would be the third. One thing that the Blue Jays players themselves have said is that they don't think they've played their best baseball yet as a team. And honestly, I really have to agree with that. I think all the ingredients are there. I think their pitching overall has been really solid. And the defense overall is certainly improved from what it's been, last year, last couple of years, and so forth. The hitters, the Blue Jays have a lot of talented hitters on this team. And most of them, probably with the exception of Bo Bichette, have struggled at one time in the season or other. And I think it's time. I mean, most of them had the All-Star break off, hopefully to rest and rejuvenate and get back to playing the game that they know how to do. I really think they're going to find a way to come together. Again, with the rotation, one problem spot has been the Alek Manoah spot in the rotation, which for just over a month was basically a fifth starter, a bullpen day, whatever you want to throw out there. So whether they skip that with the day off, but then the other four starters where they might have had an extra day's rest, they don't get to have that, or you're really taxing your bullpen by throwing Trevor Richards and Francis and maybe Tim Meza out there for as many quality innings as they can give you, but then you still pretty much need somebody else, and it leaves some pretty good pitchers such as Trevor Richards unavailable for other games where he could have helped and where he did help. If you saw over the weekend, now that Alec Manoah is back, you don't have to hold Trevor Richards back for that every fifth day thing, and he can go out and actually help teams win. He's had a fantastic season that so far, knock on wood, after many Blue Jays fans were ready to just kick him to the curb after the disaster that was last season. It's really funny that way, but I think the rotation, knock on wood, could be sorting itself out with Alec Manoah, with Hyun-Jin Ryu potentially on the way back, and who knows, if everyone stays healthy and effective, do they go to a six-man rotation? That's a possibility. We know that pitchers like Hyun-Jin Ryu, or not, I wasn't starting with Ryu. I was going to get to him. Pitchers like Kevin Gausman, Chris Bassett, they say they do much better on 5 days rest rather than 4. And I believe with Rio, even though it's been some time since we've seen him in Major League Baseball, I remember a suggestion that he actually did pretty well with an extra day's rest. So, hey, it's something they could think about, keep everybody fresh for the run to the playoffs and in the playoffs, and give themselves the best chance to win. I think the offense is going to pick it up. I mean, great for Vlad winning the home run derby, and hopefully that'll rejuvenate his confidence. As I said, Alejandro Kirk, I don't believe that he's a 620 OPS hitter. I think the Blue Jays have to find a way to return him to his previous production level. And even if that means he goes down to AAA for a couple of weeks, so be it. If we get the Alejandro Kirk that the Blue Jays have watched hit for the past few years, he needs to come back, and they got to find a way to do that. Excuse me. And then there's the trade deadline. So again, August 1st, it's coming up. Just a few more weeks. A little, actually, under 3 weeks, 20 days from today, something like that. Anyway, yeah. So the other good thing, the other domino effect in a positive way, if the rotation is sorting itself out, knock on wood, then that's one less thing that they have to go out and get. They can focus on their other needs. For me, I really want to shore up that bullpen. The pitchers down there that I trust, Jordan Romano, knock on wood, he had to be taken out of the All-Star game yesterday with some back stiffness. Hope to God that ends up being nothing, and he said it was precautionary. Hopefully he won't have to miss any significant time, because the Blue Jays really need him. But Eric Swanson, Nate Pearson, Trevor Richards, and Tim Meza, the 5 of them for the most part this season, have been really, really good. But I don't want it to just end there. I want at least one more reliable arm. I want somebody that if you go into the playoffs, you look at this group and say, yeah, I can call on any one of them and they're going to get the job done. So I'd really like to add someone. That pitcher could still be Chad Green. Unfortunately, I don't believe he's even started a rehab assignment yet, so seems like he's not really progressing as quickly as Hyun-Jin Ryu seems to be. I mean, there's individual variation, of course, as far as how well and how quickly guys recover from Tommy John. It was a gamble when they signed Chad Green. Could still pay off, but with every passing day that he's not even ready to be on a rehab assignment, time is kind of running down as far as him being able to help the Blue Jays in 2023. Zach Pop, as I said, is down at AAA. I think they might need to go outside the organization for some bullpen pitching help, and as well, maybe a bat. that the Blue Jays as a team haven't hit all that well, particularly against left-handed pitching, and particular left-handed hitters versus left-handed pitching has been a real sore spot. So would they be looking for someone to maybe platoon or pinch hit in certain situations, someone having a good season against lefties? There's lots of good articles out there. Check out Jays from the Couch for some really good writing on this topic and on lots of other topics too. Well, I've been going on, and we're almost out of time for today. So that brings me to Through Blue Jay Colored Glasses. So here we are, 91 games in the books, 71 to go. So a little over half of the season is done. And the Blue Jays, a lot of people expected them to be in a little bit better position than they are. But when you get right down to it, they're in a playoff spot. 6 teams out of 15 teams in each league go to the playoffs. And if you're one of those teams, then be proud of yourself, because you've done something. You've accomplished something. So if the Jays season if the Jays season ended now, then they would be a playoff team. I believe they're going to be a playoff team when the season ends. In fact, I'm not necessarily assuming they're going to be second wild card. I think they could move up to first wild card. They're, I believe, 5 games behind the Orioles, so they could close that gap. And even the Tampa Bay Rays lost several games in a row, and the Jays are only 7 games out of first place. It is still doable. It might be a long shot, but weirder things have happened. So I have some good hopes and good beliefs about the Blue Jays for the rest of this season. And this is going to be the year that we see this group win some games in the playoffs, hopefully a lot of them. And I want to see it unfold. I can't wait for the playoffs, but I also don't want to miss anything in between. So hope everybody will be tuning in, and they give us lots of good reasons to watch. And don't get no hit again. And on that note, that's all I've got for you this evening. Let's go Blue Jays. Thanks for tuning in on this special night of Wednesday. And have a great week. I'll see you again next week.